Welcome back, viewers. Thank you for staying with us on Tobago Updates Television. I am Natalie Sealy-Richardson. It is Friday, the 5th of July, and you are viewing GMT. Good morning, Tobago. With me this morning is another esteemed lady. Yes, it is Mrs. Gertrude Bernard Trim, and some of you may be quite familiar with that name. She is a former awardee, Medal of Honor. Usually, you know, the Tobago House of Assembly would give out these awards, and of course you have to be nominated. So it means that Mrs. Trim would have been recognized by colleagues, some people around who understood the job and the contribution she has been making and continues to even make today. And of course that she got the award in the category for public service recognition. Mrs. Trim, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Right, so for those of you wondering which Miss Trim, it is Mrs. Bernard Trim we're talking with this morning. And I want us to look at a little bit about you and talk about the field, your profession, because I think it's quite an interesting one and one that people may overlook. So tell us a little bit about who Miss Gertrude is.
I am Gertrude Bernard Trim, originally from Glamorgan. Migrated to the western side of the island and got married.
Yes.
I used to be a nursing assistant, enrolled nursing assistant. In 1983, I got a promotion to field interviewer. Those days, you used to call it contact tracer.
Right, and I think many of our viewers are familiar with the term, you know, contact tracing, and someone who does that because of COVID. You know, that's one of the terms we heard a lot of.
Right.
Yes.
But those days, I was appointed contact tracer for the STI clinic.
Right.
That is sexually infection.
Right.
You know, you have gonorrhea, syphilis, herpes, and then HIV came on the scene.
Right, yes.
So I was pretty well known around Tobago. People call me different names. The condom lady.
Right.
The dead car.
Yeah. Because of the nature of your job.
Because of the nature, right.
Yes.
Because, as you know, sex is taboo.
Yes, yes.
And when you had to chat with somebody or question somebody about their sexual life, wow.
And I want to ask, because I think that it's an interesting field in that, again, because someone may just say, oh, she's just gathering data. But the nature of your data was quite sensitive.
Yes, it was.
And very important. How did you go about getting your job done? Because one would assume, I mean, for you to just come into a stranger's personal space and ask about their sexual history, you would get some resistance. How did you manage on that job?
Well, I might say, recommend myself, I'm down to earth.
Right.
I'm with it. So when I go into a home or meet a man on the street or a woman, I would, you know, say, sweet, I love to call people sweet girl.
Yes,
or
right.
sweet boy.
Yes.
So I will say, sweet boy, I come to chat with you about something, you know. And I usually have my condoms with me.
Right.
So I would say, you ever use a condom? And then sometimes, most times I would have like a carrot or a banana to show. And then I would say, well, look, we had somebody came to the clinic and they called your name as a sexual partner. Some would say, me? You know, and then you go along with that thing and then they open up. Yes, you had resistance because you can't just ask me about my sex on.
Yes.
You understand? Sex is taboo, I said. So then you said, well, you know, somebody call your name at the clinic and I am here just for you to come in and start your treatment and to ask you if you have any more sexual partners.
Right.
More than one, they would have more than one.
Right.
Because, you know, men, right? So you will start your treatment. Some would resist. Some would say, no, 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 me. And nobody ain't called me name. And some would curse. And but you had to do your job.
But what about those who would have had that initial resistance and or denial? Did they come around, or was it just in your place to, if they just were in denial, you just had to move on?
No, you had to try.
Right.
Sometimes you go back to a person 3-4 times.
Right.
And at one time we had a doctor, Dr. Paris. She used to come around with me, and when, you know, I am not getting through, she would, you know, let me come out from the car. Sometimes in the car, you had to chat with them.
Right.
And I would just come out and she would continue. And then I worked along with Margaret Wright, Cecile Beckers, and Miss Gregg. She has since passed on because I cannot take blood or give injections.
Right.
So they were the ones who would walk with the syringe. Sometimes you have to do the blood in my car.
Right.
Right? Sometimes they give injections in my car.
Right.
But you have to have it done. Right?
And that's interesting that you all would do that to facilitate the process because, of course, you know, when we're talking about sexually transmitted infections, that's something quite private. Everybody, you don't want to walk about letting everybody know your business, especially in a small place like Tobago. You know, and that's why I find, you know, that position you held. And how long did you work in that area?
From 1983 until 2009.
Right.
When I retired, then I came back November 2009 to 2015.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
But I like it.
Yeah, I can tell. And I think, you know, you have acquired that skill over the years in terms of that communication tact.
Yes.
Because, I mean, you can just, and for viewers, you think about it. Just even with our daily lives, sometimes some of us are so private and personal, and that is your right. Imagine having a stranger just come up to you to ask about, you know, your sexual history and sex partners. I mean, you will obviously close up a bit, especially, and that means they had to trust you, Miss Gertrude.
Well, I don't know if they trust me, but sometimes they would give me the information.
Yeah.
I remember going to Speyside. And we chatted quite good, the gentleman and I, and it was a hill. And when I was going down the hill, the gentleman just let loose his dogs.
Oh my. God. You have stories.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
And let me just, in case you're now joining us, I'm having a conversation with Mrs. Gertrude Bernard Trim, a former field officer or someone who worked for the Sexually Transmitted Infection Clinic doing contact tracing. And she's a former awardee of the Tobago Medal of Honor, Bronze, for loyal and devoted service beneficial to Tobago in the sphere of public service. And we understand, you know, what she did. And let's talk about the importance of understanding his status, because again, sex is taboo. When we talk about STIs, even more taboo. And although we have so much information, scientific information available today, I have found that in many instances, people still are in denial, or you hear them talk about maybe not going the medical or the prescription medicine way, and they know some bush or they know who to go to fix the problem. Did you encounter that?
Yes. I remember sometimes when they come in with gonorrhea or run-ins, as they would say, they would tell you they drank hot coconut water, or they had cane during it, you know, the heat of the day, and you have to try to convince them, no, it doesn't matter how hot the coconut water is, you won't be able to get this.
Right. And quite recently, I've had the opportunity to work with young people discussing just, you know, skills about life skills, and one of the areas in focus is actually STIs. And for me, it was such an eye-opener that so many of our young people, and I'm talking within the last 3 to 5 years, you know, they would say the things that they think will fix their problem. You know, you hear, miss, you don't have to worry, I use 2 condoms or 3 condoms, you know, so I know nothing can get past that. Or you would hear them talk about blue soap. And I'm like, it was so scary for me, because I'm like, we have so much information before us, yet people are holding on, and my uncle tell me to do this, and, you know, even today.
The thing about it that you can't use 2 condoms. I will explain why. The condom has a right and a wrong side, right? The right side is the one with the grease for easy penetration. Right. So when you put on another condom on that, it's going to slip out. Right. Because they have grease.
Right. And it's you know, that's why education is so important. But again, the whole discussion is taboo, because even now there are parents who will not have these types of conversations with their children. So they learn from the wrong people.
Yeah.
You know, their friends who has a big brother or a big sister, and you know, the information is.
people my age or even younger won't thought about having, sex or thing,
Right.
Even to have your menstrual cycle. You would just drop a piece of cloth those days.
Yes.
And they would tell you, if you talk to boys, you're going to get pregnant.
Right.
No, how on earth talking to a boy?
And that was a build that fear kind of.
Yeah, you bring that fear. But now we have YouTube, you have, we have people who would educate you, it could watch. But still, some parents are scared because they weren't taught. You know what I mean? They didn't know what to, nobody told them.
Right.
So how could I tell you now?
Tell me, what is one lesson, one takeaway from your experience working in this field, not just a general contact tracer, but working as a field officer doing contact tracing for STIs? What's a takeaway for you working so many years in that profession? And you probably have a few, but what can you share with us?
What could I share? I don't even know.
As you think about that, I want you just to talk to us as a people of Tobago, the importance of our sexual practices and being responsible. Talk to us about that.
Have one partner. If you're going to have multiple partners, use the condom.
Right.
And there's a proper way of putting on the condom, so it's not going to slide off.
Right.
Because as I told you before, the condom have a right and a wrong side. The right side has grease for easy penetration, to go in easy. And when you put it on the condom, you pull it right down.
Right.
Because if you just ease, some people won't able to keep their erection.
Right.
So you finish before you start. So you have to know how to put it on. I'm sorry I didn't work with a condom.
Yeah, but we'll invite you back because, this is, as you said, it's interesting and people need to know. And of course, you have the family planning clinic. You still have the clinics within our health sector where you can get this information. But some people are afraid to go because I don't want nobody see. But it's about being educated, protecting yourself.
Because we're small, Tobago small, and each when you go to a clinic, you know the nurse there, and the nurse might know your auntie or your mommy.
And to be quite honest, when you go in some of these clinics, even the clerk taking your information is so loud. Everybody hear your business, and it's quite intimidating,
Well,
so I think we have to look at all of that.
I had a little room, where you come in, ask your name, your age, whatever, and then you send you to the doctor. You do the smear. Those days we used to send it down to Trinidad.
Right.
The smear is what would come from the penis, and you send it down to Trinidad, and the next week you will get the results. But you will be treated before that.
Right. Yeah, so I just want to thank you again for, chatting with us, making us aware, reminding us of what we need to be reminded. And again, to congratulate you. And I'm so happy that you were recognized because you've worked in the field extensively. You would have been that person who would have encouraged persons to be checked, understand your status, get treated, and not continue. Because if you don't have that intervention and somebody is unaware that they are infected and they have multiple partners, I mean, it's quite scary to think of the repercussion.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you. And again, for those of you we see on screen, Mrs. Trim receiving her award there and the Tobago Medal of Honor, bronze for loyal and devoted service beneficial to Tobago in this sphere of the public service. I want to thank you so much for spending. And we'll ask the producer to get you back here so you can have proper demonstrations. And some people will definitely take it in because they will not go to the clinic. So thank you so much, viewers.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, viewers, we get ready for another break, and when we return, we talk a little bit about disaster relief for the victims of Hurricane Beryl. So see you on the other side.